the Spanish FR7 rifle. And again, we have it here with our Set Me See rifle because this was another gun that was converted. Henceforth, the FR, which is Fusil Reformado or Converted Rifle 7. So I wonder if the Spanish had 6 other guns that were designated FR1 through whatever. Good question though. So the difference between this and the FR8 is this is based, it's a conversion using a 1893 action or small ring action 7mm rifle, other than with the FR8 uses a Mauser 98 style action that was chambered in 8mm. A lot of people believe that this gun cannot handle the chamber pressures of the 7.62 by 51. But it is a little bit harder to find than the FR8s. So we picked one of these up and we're going to do some head spacing and check it out and probably go shoot it. But again, same deal. They took an older style gun, they modified it and mounted a Set Me See barrel on there, set up sights, again similar as you can see between the two, to be used as a training rifle while the Spanish Army was producing and getting the Set Me See in a production for general issue, where they wanted their soldiers trained with the sight picture and so forth and that. So it was kind of a stopgap measure. And both of these rifles, after they were used for the training until they implemented the Set Me See as standard issue for the Spanish Army, then I guess the rifles were relegated to police or secondary use, and they were actually used up until the 1980s. Some of these examples, I have one or two that look like they have a mint bore. I have one that's worn and used, and another thing, like people say, that these guns are unsafe to shoot. This gun has some wear. This gun was used and shot somewhat, so the fact that it's still here and it didn't blow up kind of doesn't make that theory sound true. But then again, if you go to a lot of gun forums, there's constant arguments and that about if the 1893 action is safe enough to shoot if rebarreled in the 7.62 NATO. So let's take a little closer look at this gun. So what is the difference between this rifle and the FR8? And I'll give you some tips where you can tell at a glance what you're dealing with. And then we'll do a video with a side-by-side comparison. First off, both of these rifles had the stock that was what the rifle was before, and it was just modified. So this is a 93 style stock, 7mm. You can tell by the shape and the butt plate and all that. First thing at a glance is FR7s have a bent bolt handle, where FR8s have a straight bolt handle. Also, it is marked there, 7.62 caliber. This rifle will not have a crest on it, where the FR8 has the crest that was, I believe, put on there by the company. Why this one doesn't, I don't know, or why they didn't do it, I don't know. And also the bolt is obviously a 93 action bolt. And what I mean by that, if you are familiar with the two different rifle systems, you can tell at a glance. This is a cock-on closing, older style Mauser. And again, this one also was modified with the box magazine by adding a spacer and a feed ramp. You can use stripper clips with this, and has the very same sight welded on as the FR8. Okay, but I only have one example of an FR7. And again, just like with the SETME-C rifle, your windage and elevation is all adjusted from the front sight with a special little tool, very similar to how you would adjust the front sight on an AR-15. The SETME-C barrel is in there in the same configuration as the FR8, and the little tube for the cleaning gear is there. The flash suppressor, and there's a good look at them notches there and there, supposedly for wire cutting. And this flash hider, flash suppressor can also be used with standard rifle grenades. The 22 millimeter NATO standard will slip on there. You don't need a separate device, just fire with a blank, I guess. So that's what it looks like and the differences. And like I said, the big argument is the action strong enough to handle the 7.62 round? Take a look at the other side. And as far as sling mounts, the FR8 has a sling mount down here where this rifle does not. So it's just a loop in the center of the stock there, and it takes a SETME-C style sling. So you only have one sling setup where the FR8 has two. Also, when you look at it, rear sights, same thing with the open notch and the apertures. The open notch is 100 meters, and then you have three apertures for 200, 300, and 400 meters. Standard Mauser style action and receiver, and as you see, these serial numbers start with FR7. So that's pretty much it. And like I said, just like on your standard 7mm, you got the vent and the receiver. And curiously, I don't know if it's been scrubbed or whatever, but there's nothing on the receiver. I don't know if this one was scrubbed or if they're all like that. I'm not quite sure. Have to look at some videos and some other examples of these rifles. So now we'll talk about why I added this to my collection. Okay, FR7. As you see, it does take the SETME-C bayonet and mounts much like the FR8. Now, what I said about the action, 93 action, is if you're familiar with the Spanish rifles, you know the older Mausers were different. The bolt system was different than the 98. And this is one that it cocks on closing. Okay, and it's easy to tell they have a bent bolt handle. Now, I know Hunter's Lodge has these for about $3 something and that, but from what I've heard, and I know there's a lot of people that do business with that company and don't mind it. And there is a video of a guy who bought an FR7 from Hunter's Lodge, and he did take the gun out and put some rounds through it. Oh, one interesting thing, I'm sorry I didn't do that. It has a different way of disconnecting the front cap. It has like a little thing that you'd press down there, other than the FR7 that you have to take a screw out down inside this cap here. So that there is a difference. And this has the older Mauser style trigger guard. It doesn't have the locking screws like a 98 for the action bolts, the two bolts that hold the action to the rifle. This one is a bit lighter in that. I will headspace this, and I will make a video where we look at the two rifles side by side to see the differences. But that's the major differences, is the action and that. And like I said, there's a lot of controversy about this gun. You really don't see as many of these FR7s pop up. They're a little bit harder to find, and price-wise, yeah, it was less than what the other ones. I got it for less because many people believe that they're unsafe to shoot and do not want them. Okay, so this is not as popular or in demand as the FR8s, and you'll see that it's a reflection in what the going price is. This one here is nice, and I just checked the bore. It has an extremely nice bore, very bright, hardly used or anything, but the bolt itself does show wear, heavy wear on the underside and the top to the finish. So either this gun was fired or somebody just cycled this action 1,000 times without shooting the gun. And you see the wear on the finish, on the lugs and that. So it's a tough call, Was the gun used a lot by somebody, or just somebody cycled the action 1,000,000 times and wore the finish? Don't know. Like I said, we'll do a video and side by side with the two models, go over the differences between them. But all of them take a set-me-see sling, the set-me-see bayonet, except this one here is missing that other sling swivel down there, which is on the 8, so I wonder why is that. Interesting. But a neat gun, and hopefully once I kind of headspace it, check it out, and that, we'll discuss it more, and we'll get out and we'll take some shots with this one if it appears that there's not going to be any problems with it. I didn't mean to start the debate over it or anything, but I believe there were several other versions of the 7mm rifles that were converted to the 7.62 NATO. Not so much in this configuration, but the Spanish just converted the guns or rebarreled them to the NATO caliber once they stopped producing or ran out of stocks of the old 7mm ammunition, which I think probably since World War II kind of was phased out. So there you have it. Another interesting piece. So now we have two examples. We can do some further discussion and make some videos, comparisons, and all that other fun stuff. Alright guys, hit the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned.